Ladies and gentlemen, he's a child of God, a husband, NRA conservative, radical right-wing supervillain, and Twitter rock star. American by birth, Texan by choice, and a badass by nature. He's the owner of TomO'Halloran.com, O'HalloranMedia.com, and PatriotRadio.com. Please welcome Tom O'Halloran.
No. I'll add that on in coming weeks. Next, I gotta get my Skype working. That's my dashboard, though. I can take commercials. I've got 2 PSAs lined up for my.
Hello, Patriots. This is Tom O'Halloran, host of the Patriot Radio Show. I'd like you to.
We'll fix that in post-editing, folks. We are live. Welcome to the Patriot Radio Show. This is the Monday night edition, and I am your host, Tom O'Halloran. I'm broadcasting tonight from my underground bunker deep in Arcantana, Brascarado. And I'm here to educate, irritate, and agitate. And folks, I'll guarantee you full 100% head-on agitation before the show's over. If you're not fully agitated, folks, you'll get triple your money back on your way out the door tonight. Again, my name's Tom O'Halloran. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm Sir_TPO himself. You can follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Patriot Radio Show. My primary blog is TomO'Halloran.com. When you get there, please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, any other social media that suits your fancy. Also, while there, please follow my editor, Veronica Coffin. Veronica manages 14 websites on the network, and without her doing that, I wouldn't be able to do this. You'll find Veronica's follow button at the bottom of each and every post. I'm on air 3 nights a week now, so please be sure to catch the Wednesday night edition this Wednesday, same time, right on PatriotRadioshow.com. On Fridays, I do it a little differently. I do Jihad on America, where I cover the Islamists in America. I tell you who they are, what they want, and why you should be afraid. If you did not catch my show on the Muslim Brotherhood, my show Islam is Not a Religion, or my show on Islamophobia, please find your way to PatriotRadioshow.com and be sure to catch all 3 of those shows, as they'll give you an understanding on the topic that you've probably not heard elsewhere. It'll also lay a good, solid foundation upon which we build each and every Friday. And that's when I'm pulling back the mask of Islam, showing you what's being done in the name of Islam, both here and abroad. And I cover the news about Islam abroad because it's a look into the future. What's in store for us here in America if we continue to allow the cancer of Islam to spread here in the homeland. Keep abreast of my shows. Listen to the live stream as well as archives of any shows you may have seen, all on PatriotRadioshow.com. Tonight is a new milestone for us. We're right about 115 shows in the can. But we've switched over. We're doing our show with Sam Broadcaster from Spatial now. It's the 700-pound gorilla in the industry. I'm real excited. We've been trying to get this going for quite some time, but we had some technical issues. They're ironed out. The working of the software now will speed up the launch of the website that we've had for a while and just haven't been able to bring up to speed. Watch for the relaunch of Red Nation Radio in the coming week or two. Red Nation Radio is a 724 conservative talk radio station. And if you have designs on doing a radio show, if you are doing a radio show, come to Red Nation Radio. Check it out. We do things a little differently over there, and we offer you things that nobody else does. So kicking off the show tonight, we've got the Obama administration, shocker, giving $128 million from an agency that is supposed to feed the world's poor, the world's hungry. USAID. is a federal agency designed to distribute foreign aid, to feed the very, very hungry people around the world. And turns out a new government report shows that $128 million from U.S. aid has been redirected. It's been redirected to a number of organizations, leading off with the International Planned Parenthood Federation and another one called the Population Council. Both are umbrella groups covering over 100 different organizations. So instead of feeding the hungry, we're going to give them free abortion. Now, am I the only one that sees a problem with this? These are countries that don't have abortion because they don't believe in abortion. They don't have abortion because they, for the most part, are Christian nations. They don't believe in rampant sexuality. But the Obama administration doesn't care much for such Christian beliefs. They want people to become basic whores, sleep with anybody, get a free government-paid-for abortion. Now, the problem here is multifaceted. First off, we're killing babies. Here in America alone, we've killed over 60 million babies, 60 million innocent lives since Roe versus Wade. 60 million innocent babies killed. And the number's only gone up since Obama's taken over. But now we're doing it illegally. We're funneling taxpayer dollars. It is against the law to fund abortions with taxpayer dollars. I should not have to work, pay my taxes to the government, and be supporting the murder of innocent lives. And it's not allowed. But what this move does, it's Obama's administration giving the money to U.S. aid and having U.S. aid do the dirty work. Now, even they are giving the money to sub-agencies and NGOs, non-governmental organizations, that are supposedly for training, or where abortion is just a small part of it. Small, like, well, no more than 99% of our income comes from abortion. Any way you slice it, Obama is exporting the murder of innocent lives. The absolute slaughter, genocide of innocent lives. This is the same SOB that gets upset over the thought of waterboarding a terrorist. He won't waterboard a murdering bastard, but he'll kill an innocent baby. I got an idea for you, Obama. Let's waterboard these babies. Let's stick them under the water for a little bit. And let's kill the terrorists. But forcing taxpayers, working American citizens, to work and give up our money and be part and parcel to have a hand in the murder of innocent lives is bad enough. But now to be exporting it to other countries, countries that don't have abortion as it is, countries that don't want abortion. But now they're being told that they have to have abortions. They have to allow it. It's being forced upon them. The UN's new development goals is what it's all about. The International Planned Parenthood Federation is an umbrella group for 152 affiliates. And last year it published a manual on pressuring countries to integrate sexual and reproductive health and rights. Those are euphemisms for abortion and sexuality issues. They're forcing these issues into countries under the UN's new development goals. These goals will guide international and national priorities and billions of dollars over the next decade or two. Problem is now is if a country needs money to feed the hungry, if they need money to bring water in for their people because they're dying of malaria and they need drinkable water. If you need anything from the UN now, they're going to force you to provide abortions. It's blackmail. If you don't kill the babies, we're going to withhold food and water and make all of your people die. Obama is blackmailing them with food, with water, with medicine, with anything these poor countries need. If they want it from the UN, they've got to start killing babies. Now, it's important to note that the two largest groups here, International Planned Parenthood Federation and the Population Council, both have their roots in, I'm at a loss for the term right now, but good golly, they both have their roots in eugenics, killing people for population control. And that's what this is part and parcel of. They want people to get free abortions. They want taxpayers like me and you to pay for it. But they also want people to kill babies to keep population levels low. Rather than teaching people to stop having sex when they don't want to have babies. Rather than teaching people to use condoms to keep from getting pregnant. They just want to kill the babies. Representative Vicky Hartzler said, like a majority of the American people, I stand for life, born or unborn. And it is an affront to us when we see our hard-earned tax dollars going to groups that end innocent lives. And Representative Diane Black says, simply put, under no circumstances should the federal government use taxpayer dollars to be an accessory to abortion. We've got to put an end to this, folks. It's an obscene act. And to export it to other countries to make our shame, our national shame of our abortion rate, to make that one of our greatest exports, is doubly obscene. Speaking of obscene, let's move along. Big Pharma. Now, I'm all for big business. I'm a capitalist. I love big companies. I love big companies having CEOs that make big money. I have no problem with the disparity between a CEO's pay and the bottom of the rungs pay. I'm not one of those people. I'm also all for companies being able to endorse and support candidates that they want. But I'm beginning to look at the whole campaign contribution system a little bit differently these days. A little bit differently because Big Pharma has been increasing the amount of money that they give toward political campaigns, toward individual candidates, toward legal cases, toward preferred market positions. And they've been increasing it for several years. But especially since the Supreme Court ruled that it was allowed, they could give untold amounts of money in the Citizens United case back in 2010. Big Pharma is getting a 77,000% return on their money. For every $1 million that they give to campaigns, that they give to campaign causes, they get $77.5 billion with a B in revenue. This is corrupting a lot of the political process. And I don't know what we're going to do about it, but it has to be looked at. Something has to be done about it. Because the amount of money that's being poured into it is unheard of. The federal government is the single largest purchaser of health care services in the country. Between Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the VA, the military, and other benefits and entitlement programs. According to the 2014 budget analysis from the Heritage Foundation, these programs, as well as the interest on the money borrowed to run the programs, has cost a combined $58 billion. But the corporations that have been funneling money into the political machinery have gotten a $4 trillion windfall in federal business and support. $4 trillion. That's more money than the federal government has actually spent on those programs I mentioned a minute ago. For all those medical programs, the federal government spends about $4.3 trillion. And yet they contract with these companies to the tune of $4.4 trillion of federal business. If you got an extra million or two, throw it into campaign contributions. Never mind the stock market. Never mind real estate. You're not going to get a 77,000% return on your money anywhere but politics. Think of that. For every $1 million you spend, you can get a $77 billion return. I'd spend $1 million all day long for that kind of a return. That's insane, folks. Now, we've been warning you about this Iran deal that Obama's trying to strike up. A lot of people have been warning about it. Obama came on TV and gave us the broad strokes. He gave us an overview of what the agreement with Iran was going to be about. It was about Iran cutting back on nuclear plants, about Iran cutting back on the amount of nuclear storage, about Iran cutting back on research and development, about Iran cutting back and cutting back and cutting back. Within 24 hours of Obama coming online and telling us what this agreement that they've already worked out contains, the grand leader of Iran comes on the air and says none of that is true. We're going to be able to increase our nuclear facilities. We are going to increase the amount of nuclear programs. We're going to increase the amount of nuclear storage. Everything that Obama told us has been a lie. And they're being called out on it. Many of the congressmen are calling them on it. I haven't seen the news media doing it. They still seem to be in Obama's pocket, having their collective head up his butt. But Obama is now complaining about the complaining. Obama came out the other day, yesterday I believe it was, he said, I don't understand why everybody is working so hard to anticipate how we can fail. Obama, it's not can fail, it's will fail, it's have failed. You have failed at everything you've ever tried to negotiate. He continues, my only question is why we're trying to shortcut our own negotiations. It's not our negotiations, Obama, it's your negotiations. And we know what your negotiations are like. You bend over and you give the opponent everything they want. You give them everything and you get nothing. That's not a negotiation. That's a submission. It's not our negotiation because you didn't even tell us what you were negotiating. You kept it a secret until you supposedly had it locked down. He continues. He says, that's not how we're supposed to run foreign policy, regardless of who is president or secretary of state. This is not about who is president or secretary of state. This is about how incompetent those two jackasses are. Obama and John Kerry, when it comes to state issues, they're as useless as tits on a boar hog. They have accomplished absolutely nothing other than pissing off our allies. And even making our enemies distrust us, mock us. Our enemies like us because they get everything they want. Nobody has ever given them everything they want. They like us. They like us the same way the bully liked us in school when he came over to get your lunch money. You give him the lunch money, he pretends you're his friend. And that's what our enemies are doing now. They take and take and take, but they don't respect us. And they sure as hell don't fear us anymore. Obama says it needs to stop. It needs to stop? Really? Dissent with the state needs to stop? Well, why not? Saddam Hussein made dissenters stop. Hugo Chavez makes dissenters stop. Fidel Castro and his brother Raul make dissenters stop. Stalin, Hitler, Mao, every despot in history insisted that dissent stops. Apparently, Obama has missed the fact that this is America, and we have a right, I dare say, we have a responsibility to dissent, to hold them accountable for what they do, for what they say, to tell us we have to stop dissenting, stop talking about how they might fail or how they have failed. It'll be a cold day in hell when we stop. This administration needs to be held accountable. It's something they've not had to face to date. This may be a breaking trend. Let's hope. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Radical right-wing supervillain and Twitter rock star. A Patriot.
Patriot. Have you ever wondered why Google, Yahoo, AT&T, Comcast, and so many others offer free email?
I told you we're working out some bugs yet. We will have some PSAs and some commercials in the coming shows. I still have a little bit of learning to do on this system, so we're just going to plow right on through here, folks. We'll fix that in post-editing. Oh, golly, let's stay on Obama for a little bit more. He is the trending topic this evening. Obama's warning Parents, your children are mine. Hardly a surprise. We've covered this type of a mindset from him before. He's warned Christian parents that the federal government wants their kids. The comment was Obama's, but it was delivered by Valerie Jarrett. The story in Politico kind of softened it up. The headlines state, Barack Obama denounces conversion therapy for gays. And they used quotes around the conversion therapy as though it was not a science, as though it doesn't work. What's happening is there is a therapy that has been around for 30 years or more. When people are feeling unwanted attraction to the same sex, they can get depressed, they can get suicidal, they can become problems to society, dangerous to themselves. But there is a process that mental health experts have used for decades. Conversion therapy, to bring them back, to help them understand the urges and help them avoid taking action on them. The process supposedly works. I don't know, because I've not had these undesired urges. But sometimes kids do, and they don't know how to deal with them. So parents take them to counselors, to mental health specialists, to get the kids back on track to living Christ's way, where a man is supposed to lie with a woman. To all the biblical teachings of all that is right. And they go through this process, and they become normalized. There are many people out there that will declare themselves former homosexuals. And I myself used to make fun of the term. But I've grown to learn that this process does work. Well, there are 2 states now, California and New Jersey, where parents can no longer get involved. They can no longer be part of their child's upbringing in this area. They banned parents from having a role in raising their children in this area of human sexuality. That is obscene. There is no area where a parent's role should rightfully be taken from them. If a parent wants to ensure that his child has everything in his or her grasp to live a Christ-like, a Christian life, then it's the parent's right to do this. Except, so it seems, in New Jersey, and except as it seems in California. Obama is trying to push an agenda where it's a national issue, where if your child thinks he's gay, you have no right to straighten him or her out. Obama is trying to build the homosexual community for them. What, you may ask, would be his purpose? What is the purpose of everything that Obama has done? Everything Obama has attempted to do has been for the same goal. It's to destroy America, to ruin the family unit. If you destroy the family unit, you've got one more piece of the communist agenda in play. You've got to stupidify the kids, dumb them down so they don't know how to do math. They don't know history. They don't know about their roots. They don't know about the founding of our country. They don't know about national pride. And they think that being homosexual is normal. This is all part of the communist agenda to destroy the United States of America. And they have many of the planks already in place. There's just a few more that are being worked on, and that's what he's doing here. He is attacking Christian parents who object to the government sanctioning homosexuality as another valid lifestyle. He's building up an army of LGBT, or as a friend of mine determined it, the BLT community, of young people who will forever be grateful to him for bringing them out of the closet, standing up for their so-called rights. There is no right to be a homosexual. It's not a civil right. It's not in the Constitution that you have a right to do this. If you are, most people will probably leave you alone. But it's not a right, like a right to free speech, like a right to carry a gun, like a right to practice your religion. But Obama and these freaks are trying to paint it as a right, which is why we have states like Indiana putting up laws to make it a right for a business owner to refuse to do business when doing this business infringes on their political beliefs, because those are our rights. You can take your lewd and ungodly behavior, you can take your crude desires and do what you like behind closed doors, but you have no right to force businesses or individuals into participating with your vile behavior, with your activities. Do as you like, but you can't force us to participate. The re-education of these people, and they're not always youths. There are people that have gone through these realignment, if you will, processes in their 20s and 30s. The LGBT community and the Obama administration is trying to stop these conversion processes. Stop trying to teach people it's okay to do this. And yet they're trying to get taxpayers to fund sex changes, such as the sex change for Bradley Manning, who's a prisoner. The Army's agreed to pay for hormone treatments, makeup, female underwear for Manning, as well as, I believe, a sex change. I'm sorry, but sewing a vagina on a man does not make him a woman. Only God can make women. The politicians are trying to decide what constitutes mental health. This reminds us of the psychiatric hospitals in the USSR. And we can probably expect political dissidents to be going to these realignment hospitals, rather than using the hospitals to teach our youths how to become Christian and normal heterosexuals. We're going to use these places to try to re-educate people like me, other Christians that speak out against these tawdry government officials. The re-education camps, like they used in Vietnam, when Pol Pot would round everybody up that had an education and re-educate them on how to honor the government. The Freedom of Conscience Defense Fund is fighting back. They're taking it to court. They're trying to force the Obama administration to allow these therapy processes to take place, to allow parents to do what they see fit for their kids, because they are their kids, and that's all the reason they need. Up next, let's talk about Obama and Palestine. Israel is the only country in the entire Middle East where Muslims and Jews and Christians and Hindus can live in peace, can worship openly. It's the only land where this can happen. Obama has made numerous statements to the effect that our ally, Israel, is going to have to accept Palestine as a side-by-side state. A two-state solution is the only one. It's the only solution, he says. I've got several quotes from him. He says, negotiations will be necessary, but there's little secret about where they must lead. 2 states for 2 peoples. That doesn't sound a lot like negotiations. That sounds like you telling our allies what they have to do. That's not a negotiation, you asshat. He says, and I think everybody understands the outlines of what a peace deal would look like, involving a territorial compromise on both sides based on the 67 lines, with mutually agreed upon swaps. That is not a mutually agreed upon situation. He wants Israel to give up land that they took in 1967 when they were attacked by Palestine. They were attacked, and they took some land as the spoils of war. That's what the victor in a war is allowed to do. They took a wide swath of land that forced their enemy to be on the other side of that land, far enough away to minimize the risk of rockets being lobbed into Israel. Obama wants them to roll that back so their enemies can be right next door, where they can easily target and kill the Jews. Obama says the only way for Israel to endure and thrive as a Jewish and democratic state is through the realization of an independent and viable Palestine. Obama needs to learn that Israel has thrived as an independent and democratic state since the day it was created. It has done so with the support of the United States of America, its dearest ally, as they are our dearest ally. You can't force somebody in bed with their enemy. And as our ally, that is a second process for them to remain an independent and thriving democratic state. We will be there for them. He says neither occupation nor expulsion is the answer. Israel is not occupying Palestine. There is no Palestine. Israel owns the Gaza. Israel owns the land that it took in 67. It is theirs. It is not an occupation. If Nevada attacks New Mexico and New Mexico kicks Nevada's butt, New Mexico can take as much land as New Mexico wants to take. It's theirs. That's what a war does. And Obama needs to learn this. He says we can continue to believe that a two-state solution is the only way for the long-term security of Israel. Let me read that one again. We continue to believe that a two-state solution is the only way for a long-term security of Israel, if it wants to stay both a Jewish state and democratic. This is kind of hard to wrap your head around. He wants a two-state solution, for long-term stability. He wants Israel to let the Palestinians move in right next door. Let me read you a paragraph. This is from the Hamas Charter. Now, the Gaza Strip is governed by Hamas, which is a terror organization. The terror organization is devoted to the utter destruction of the nation of Israel. And these two quotes are from the charter of Hamas. Their charter. This is what the organization exists for. It says Israel will exist and continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. It also says the land of Palestine is an Islamic waqf, a holy possession. It's consecrated for future Muslim generations until Judgment Day. No one can renounce any part of it or abandon any part of it. Now, in the last comment I read from Obama, he stated, the only way for Israel to endure and thrive as a Jewish democratic state for long-term security is to have a two-state solution. He wants to move these Palestinians in next door. How is that going to be a long-term solution for Israel when the people Obama wants to move in exist to kill all the Jews? You tell me. If somebody comes to rent your house next door, if they want to rent the house next door to you, and you own it, and they come up and say, we're going to give you $1,000 a month to rent your house, and we want to kill you, are you going to let these people move in next door? No, of course you're not. But this is what Obama is trying to force Bibi Netanyahu to have the Jews do. Take these people in. Take them and let them be your neighbors. And let them kill you. Because that will be your long-term security. Now, what Obama doesn't seem to understand, he has to know it. Because I know it. My kids know it. The guy across the street from me knows it. And Obama has a lot of advisors. Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution. They just don't want the one state to be Israel. They just want to kill the Jews. They don't want to live next door to the Jews. They just want the Jews dead. A recent set of surveys came up with some interesting numbers on the Palestinian people in recent years. Only 34% of the Palestinians believe that a two-state solution is the answer. Only 34% of the people that Obama wants to force this situation into, or force this situation on, only 34% of them want it. And 0% of the Israelites. So out of 200% of the people, only 34% want the solution. How stupid does this get? 58% of the Palestinians believe that an armed struggle, an armed engagement with Israel, is a better solution. 73% agree with the hadith quoted in the Charter that talks about killing the Jews. 73% of the Palestinians just want to kill the Jews. That's all. And Obama's down with that. He says, let me get you moved in next door and you can do that. Only 12% of Palestinians even think that Israel should be on the map, that the word Israel should even be in the school books. 12%. Meanwhile, 2/3 of the Palestinians believe that the eventual goal for Palestinians must be to get back all the land for a Palestinian state. What part of that sounds like long-term security for the Jews? 2/3 of the Palestinians just want to kill the Jews and take all the land. But Obama wants Israel to be forced to bring him next door. Whose side do you think he's on? The Jews are our allies, not the terrorists. We're supposed to be helping our allies, help defending our allies from the terrorists. But our leading terrorist, Obama himself, is negotiating for the other terrorists. Obama is trying to twist the arm of the Jews, force the Jews to do what the people that want to kill the Jews want them to do. And the liberals support this. The Democrats still embrace Obama. How can the Jews ever vote Democratic with this situation happening? Obama and the Democrats are trying to force you and your people to take the terrorists in, to let them be your neighbors. We're going to force you to let these murdering bastards move in next to you. It's for your long-term security. Trust me, I'm the president. It just gets crazier every week, folks. Crazier every week. Last week we talked about the shooting in South Carolina where the white policeman, Michael Slager, brutally and unnecessarily shot an unarmed black man in the back. Al Sharpton suddenly found a microphone, found a camera. And once again, just like he did wrongly in the Trayvon Martin case, just as he did wrongly in the Michael Brown case in Missouri, he once again finds a microphone and starts crying out. This time he's saying it's time for this country to have national policing. We can't keep going from state to state. We can't keep having individual state police or city police handle these local situations. We need a national law enforcement to protect people against these continued questions. See, what he fails to realize or recognize or acknowledge, and like Obama, he's not stupid. He just turns a blind eye to facts. And what he's failing to acknowledge is the fact that the cop in question was quickly charged with murder. He was summarily fired from his job, and he's currently being held in jail without bail. The system works as it is, you race-baiting piece of crap. There is but two race-baiting racists in this country that are greater than Al Sharpton. That would be Barack Obama and Eric Holder. Sharpton draws the wrong lessons from the shooting. He draws the wrong lessons from all of the shootings. All he cares about is getting media attention for his National Action Network. The mainstream media ignores his cushy position at MSNBC, and they act like a media outlet serving his press releases. This guy has no conscience. Police officers in this country are shooting people, civilians, at the rate of, I believe it's 8 a day. 8 civilians a day. Sometimes children in cribs. There was another one on TV, I think, just this afternoon, where a police officer, and I don't have the full story, a police officer got confused, thought he was drawing his taser, but he drew a pistol and shot a man. There's a man too stupid to be a police officer. If you can't tell the difference between a gun in your hand being a gun or a stun gun, a taser, then you have no business wearing a uniform. But 8 police officer shootings a day. You don't hear about any of these from Eric Holder, from Barack Hussein Obama, from Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson. They only come out of the dark when it's a white officer and a black victim. That's all that matters to them, are white on black crime. They never talk about the black on black shootings. Several of these shootings are black officers shooting black victims, black civilians. Some are black officers shooting white civilians. But these don't matter to the race baiters. All they want to do is stir up racial fear and hatred. They want the blacks fearing the white man like they did in the 60s when there was a real race problem. We don't have that anymore. Our race problem is Barack Obama, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and Eric Holder. That is America's shame of racial problems. For them to come out every time a white officer shoots a black person gets the headlines, and those are the things that people remember. And it sounds like the white cops are really out to get the black civilians rampantly without regard for what they may or may not have done. Now, I don't support this officer's shooting the man in the back in any way, shape, or form. But there has been nothing to lead us to believe that it was a racial issue. The black man that got shot in the back was struggling with the police officer. As I understand it, he grabbed the police officer's taser and ran. If he had grabbed a handgun and run, yes, shooting him in the back would be acceptable. But the guy can't do much damage at 20 feet with a taser. So shooting him is unjustified. And unless something comes out to show us that something else happened, which I don't believe is going to happen, then I think this will come down to being a conviction for the police officer, as it should be. But it's time for America to stand up. It's time for black America to stand up and tell these race baiters to stop stirring it up. Stop trying to throw gasoline on the flames of racial tension. These guys are raping the minds of black America. They're trying to poison them to think that all police officers are out to shoot them. This is going to cause more black youths to be trigger happy toward the police officers. This happened in New York City after the black man was suffocated, was choked to death on the streets. Sharpton started fanning the flames again in that case. And the very next day, 2 police officers are shot while sitting in a patrol car. It's time for the black community leaders, the pastors, their church leaders, the business community to speak out and tell the race baiters to shut their pie hole. We frequently talk about the Islamists in America, the ones that aren't blowing things up, that aren't cutting people's heads off. They say, we're not all like that. And we say, well, what are you doing to stop the others? We don't hear you telling them to behave, to get in line. It's the same thing here. We don't hear the black community leaders, the real leaders, standing up and telling the race baiters to stand down. And it's time they start. That's our show for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for bearing with me as I struggle with this new software. We'll get it cleaned up in post. Next show will be better, I promise. We'll see you on Wednesday night for the Wednesday night edition of the Patriot Radio Show. Good night, America. God bless you and yours. This is Tom O'Halloran. I'm out.